To Ladies Night Out. I'm Nina Olson and Molly back here and I were talking. We're both here at the Freedom Fox Point location and we were trying to remember how many years we've been doing this, and I don't know if we ever came up with an answer, but at least probably 15, I bet. Yeah. Maybe 15, 13, somewhere in there. So thank you for being here. It's evolved over time. And we are excited to have some amazing speakers tonight. But first I just wanted to introduce you to some of our staff. So some of our staff could come up here. We started doing this Ladies Night Out because we have a pelvic health program here at Freedom. And back when we started our program, it was really women's health, and that was the buzzword. And now it's really evolved to pelvic health encompassing men and women. And here are some of our lovely staff members that treat both men and women. Some are pelvic floor focused and some are orthopedic focused. Maybe we can just go down the line and we can just give their name and a little bit about what you treat.
Oh gosh. Okay, I'm Heather. I work at Fox Point here. I do pelvic health, vestibular, TMJ, I'm a jack of all trades. So.
I'm Grace. I'm at our Brookfield and McWanago location. I also treat pelvic floor and any outpatient condition.
My name is Bree. I'm at Fox Point and I will be at Grafton starting next week, 2 days a week as well. I pretty much just do generalized. I don't do pelvic floor, but I do just general orthopedic conditions.
I'm Anna and I work at this location. I treat pelvic floor and TMJ as well.
I'm Rachel. I work in Brookfield primarily. I've dabbled a little bit out here, and I do not treat pelvic floor, but I treat orthopedics, and I really like concussion and vestibulars.
And Molly?
I do mostly orthopedic. I have a kind of a niche for falls prevention and Parkinson's, and I'm at the Fox Point Clinic.
Oh, we've got Diane just in time for intros. Hi, Diane.
Hi, everyone.
We're just saying our names, where we work, and what we treat.
Okay, Diane Ping. I work here in this office, and I've been here about 20 years plus. And then things I tend to focus on might be osteoporosis, post-cancer care, spine, neck, right, shoulders, knees, feet.
A little bit of everything.
A little bit of that, kind of general.
Well, we are so excited for this night. As I think we would all agree, we are treating the whole person. We try to incorporate some education on mind and body, and I think this night will represent that. So thank you for coming. We have Amanda here tonight who's going to start us off. And we are going to be talking about hormone balancing. So Amanda, come on.
Yeah, I'll just kind of pass these, take one, pass them down. If there's extra of this, hold on to them.
Turn this
Okay. Set these here. There you go. All right. So I'm Amanda. I am a functional nutritionist. So what that means is I'm kind of a root cause practitioner. So my clients come to me with a myriad of things going on, and it's sort of my goal to find out what's happening in the body that's not functioning optimally, that's gotten them to where they are, and then how do we address that and restore optimal function with dietary changes, lifestyle interventions, or supplement protocols. So I see clients for a myriad of reasons, but it's usually digestive concerns, hormonal imbalances, which is what we're going to talk about today, some autoimmune conditions, some people who just want to really optimize their health and there's really nothing specific going on, or clients who've maybe gone to the doctor, gotten some lab work back, and they're their blood sugar is not looking great and they're pre-diabetic, or their cholesterol is off, or there's inflammation, something's wrong and they don't want to go sort of the conventional medical route and address it through medication. They want to try to fix it naturally. So that's what I do with my clients. So one thing that I really start off talking to my clients about is, of course, diet and nutrition. So if you think about your body is, organic material, right? And it's constantly renewing, regenerating, growing. And the only place we get more organic material from is our food. So we really want to be optimizing our diets and eating the best quality food that we can. And of course, trying to minimize things that are not great quality. So this includes eating, enough protein, getting, I have some recommendations in here, but really aiming for like 80 to 100 grams of protein a day, which is, hard for some folks to do. And then, of course, eating quality fats. So eating your healthy fats is really going to help you to have some stable energy and to provide your body with what it needs to function optimally. And then, yes, we do also need, some carbohydrates, but really trying to minimize kind of those processed carbohydrates and really focusing on vegetables, fruits, and getting your carbs from those sources. I'm just going to grab my water really quickly. Also, just to let you guys know, I do have a sign-up sheet, and if you want a PDF version of this, I can email it out, and that will have like links to certain things that I talk about in here, so you don't have to go home and start Googling, like, what probiotics should I take? I can send that to you. So, like I said, today we're going to talk about some steps you can take to balance your hormones. And so when I'm talking about hormones today, what I mean primarily are our sex hormones. So we're talking about estrogen, testosterone, and progesterone. When we're talking about hormones in general, we can be talking about any number of hormones within the endocrine system. So the endocrine system is this big system of hormones, which is just a different word for messengers. That's what hormones are. They're messengers that go out into the body and signal something else to happen. So you can't really talk about one piece of that system without impacting the other pieces, and vice versa. If you impact one piece of that system, it's going to have a downstream impact on the other pieces. So today we're going to focus on how you can use other pieces and use certain things to optimize, balance in your sex hormones. So I've kind of broken it down into 5 subsections here. This is a really vast topic that I could talk about for a whole day. So condensing it down to 20 minutes is, no small task. So these are just some small manageable steps to take. It's definitely not an exhaustive list of the things that I would do with my clients if they're struggling with hormonal balance. And again, this could really be anyone who's struggling with something from anything from just periods that are uncomfortable to PCOS, endometriosis, trouble conceiving, to postpartum issues, and then on to perimenopause and menopause and postmenopause. So these things are applicable sort of no matter where you're at in your journey. So I'm actually going to start at the bottom with this sort of foundational piece of hydration. So I would say a vast majority of my clients, when they come to me, are not adequately hydrated. So really, we should be aiming to drink half our body weight in ounces of water a day. So if you weigh 150 pounds, that's 75 ounces of water. So I have a lot of clients who are coming, and they're drinking like 1 glass of water a day, and then they're drinking coffee, they're drinking tea, they're drinking Crystal Light, which none of that counts as water, okay? So when I'm talking about water, I mean, regular water. The only caveat would be to add some electrolytes in there. If you really needed some flavor, that would really enhance the absorption and enhance the flavor. But should be plain water, and ideally it would be filtered or spring water. So there's some debate about this, but like in third-party testing, there are upwards of kind of 30 known chemicals in the tap water in the Milwaukee area. So if it's possible for you to get filtered water, that's the best. So stay hydrated. This is gonna help with blood flow, and of course your hormones are going out in your bloodstream, and that's how they're moving throughout the body. So you want your blood flowing. Also, we wanna support the body's detoxification pathways. So specifically through this, we're gonna be supporting the kidneys and the liver, right? So this will come back up later, but when we need to remove excess hormones from the body, hormones that have been used up, they need to leave the body via the liver. So you need to be properly hydrated for those pathways of elimination to be working. So definitely drink the water. All right, so going back up to the top here, we're gonna talk just quickly about supporting your microbiome. So another word for this is the gut. Gut health is a pretty big topic these days. But if your gut isn't in a good place, if you don't have enough robust bacteria in your gut to keep the pathogen bacteria down, that can really increase inflammation. It can decrease the nutrient absorption from your food, so those negative bacteria that are getting in, because your body's not protected by the good bacteria, they can be stealing the nutrients from your food, and it's not getting into your body and going where we need it to go. And then if it's bad enough, it will actually downregulate production of your sex hormones. So supporting your microbiome, some easy ways to do that: taking a good quality probiotic. Again, when I email this, if you want this emailed out to you, there will be some suggestions in there. Eating some good fermented foods. So this would be the fermented foods, the pickled foods that you find in the refrigerated section. So they have to be refrigerated to have live culture bacteria in them. So like Frank's sauerkraut, it's really good, but it's not truly fermented. And then eating your fibrous vegetables, specifically your leafy greens, cabbage, root vegetables. That's going to help feed that good bacteria once you've got it in your gut. So the next thing you can do is support your blood sugar. So when I say blood sugar, what I mean is, the level, having stable levels of glucose in your blood. And this is a part of that endocrine system that I was talking about. And blood sugar regulation is actually the endocrine system's biggest priority, because it gives you your energy and it keeps you alive. So when we're looking at sort of the hierarchy, of course the body is going to prioritize survival over reproduction, right? So if there's chronic dysregulation in your blood sugar, there will eventually be dysregulation in your hormones, in your sex hormones. So some really good ways to regulate this is to first eat breakfast within an hour of waking. This is another really common thing I see from clients. They'll come in, they're not eating breakfast till 10. Sometimes people aren't even eating until lunch. They're just having coffee and waiting till lunchtime. And so that can really cause your blood sugar to drop about an hour or so after you've gotten up. So eating within an hour of waking is super critical. Like I already talked about with the protein, trying to get about 80 to 100 grams of protein a day. The thing is, if you're eating that much protein, which protein in itself is a longer lasting form of energy than carbohydrates, but if you're eating that much protein, it's going to be really hard to overeat carbohydrates, which is the biggest thing that would dysregulate someone's blood sugar and kind of take them towards that like pre-diabetes, type 2 diabetes state. So really focusing in on protein, trying to stay under 15 grams of added sugar a day. So if you're looking at labels, if you're a label reader, which I hope everyone is, oftentimes they'll see people are looking at total sugar, which isn't as important because sometimes that is coming from fruit. You know, you could have plain orange juice that has several grams of total sugar, but no added sugar. So that's what you want to be looking at, and staying under that 15 grams of added sugar a day. And then I like to say no naked carbs. So if you eat carbohydrates on their own, even fruit or vegetables, that will spike your blood sugar and cause it to drop very quickly. So if you add in some protein, even if it's just some cheese or a piece of lunch meat, something like that, some nut butter with your fruit to like balance it out, it will cause you to have longer lasting energy and be fuller longer. The next part of the endocrine system that is really impactful when it comes to our sex hormones is our adrenals. So our adrenals are like our survival, our fight or flight organs. And so their jobs are twofold, kind of. So one is they actually do help us manage our blood sugar. So anytime your blood sugar gets too low, your adrenals will pump out cortisol to go out and break down some stored blood sugar and give you that extra boost. The problem with this, because it's also happening, cortisol is also being put out due to our regular everyday life. You know, life is stressful. Anytime we encounter a stressor, the body pumps out a little bit of cortisol. Cortisol and our sex hormones are both made from cholesterol. And so after time, if we're chronically too stressed and or our adrenals are spending too much time and effort trying to regulate our blood sugar, the body will actually start stealing nutrients from our sex hormones to start to make cortisol. So again, prioritizing that survival over that reproductive side of our bodies. So some things you can do to try to down-regulate the output of cortisol a little bit is watching exercise. I do have a lot of clients who are over-exercising, doing, you know, HIIT workouts, these crazy workouts, you know, several days a week. Trying to manage stress, which is, I know, easier said than done a lot of times. But where I see this come in, kind of from the mindset standpoint, is that your body doesn't actually know the difference between what is actually happening in real time and what you're imagining or replaying. So if you are, say, rehashing an argument you had with someone, right? You're ruminating on it for an hour, your body is just pumping out the cortisol because it thinks it's happening. It's playing in your mind and your body is responding like it's happening. If you get some kind of crazy email from someone, it really stresses you out, or you have an argument with a loved one and that, you're kind of going over that again. If you're replaying what you're gonna say to your husband when he gets home, because, if you're like replaying things in your head, that also can cause the same phenomenon to happen. So really being aware of your thought life can help manage stress as well. Getting quality sleep. If we're underslept and tired, we're gonna require more cortisol. Eating quality fats. Again, this is another thing I'll have kind of linked in there as a list, but good quality fats to support your body would be things like olive oil, avocado oil, any coconut-based products, full-fat dairy, not low-fat dairy, full-fat dairy, nuts and seeds to some degree. So just kind of throw out a few. And then watching your caffeine intake. Because again, right, you can tell if you've had too much caffeine, that's your body responding to that stress. And then lastly, we want to support our liver. So like I was saying before, our conjugated or used up hormones get cycled through the liver and marked for excretion from the body. So that's how they get removed when they're used up. So if our liver is overburdened if the body's toxic burden is too high and there's too much for the liver to do, that it becomes a little bit stressed and sluggish, that process becomes impaired. It also becomes impaired if someone's dealing with constipation and things aren't leaving the body like they should, and there's a buildup. When that happens, estrogen specifically starts to recycle through the body, and there can become a state of estrogen dominance. So of course, we want enough of our hormones. We don't want too many of one or the other, right? Because then there causes an imbalance as well. So the other side of this that becomes important is not using things on our body that mimic estrogen when they get in the bloodstream. So anything you put on your body can soak through your skin and get into your bloodstream. So I'm thinking about hygiene products, facial care, body wash, all of that, washing the ingredients. So again, this is something I'll link to give some more information about that. But if that starts to happen, that can also contribute to that estrogen dominant state. So some things to do on this front, switching to some low tox self-care and home care products. Castor oil packs, using castor oil packs on the liver. This is something else that will be linked. But essentially, are you guys familiar with castor oil packs? Okay, so castor oil is just a form of oil, and you soak a piece of fabric in it, and then you can put it over your liver, put a heating pad over that, do that a couple times a week. That really helps pull some toxins from the body and get things moving. And then raw carrot salads are a really great way to love on your liver. This is something else I'll link, but it's basically, shredded carrots, some coconut oil, and a little bit of vinegar and sea salt. But that combination just has a lot of good nutrients to support liver health and to help remove some of that excess estrogen. So I know this is a lot of information in a short amount of time. Like I said, I can email this out to anyone who wants it. And then the things that sort of require more information and like a deeper explanation will be linked for you to just click on and get some more info. So, thank you for inviting me here to speak.
Thank you. Pass it on the sign-up sheet,
Yes,
or-
I can pass it around.
Why don't we just have, I usually send out an email that has the video link to it, so if anybody that wants it just signs in with ours, then
Perfect.
you can just get it to me and I'll get it to everybody.
Sounds great.
That,
And by scanning this, that won't pull it up?
That's my website. That'll pull up my website, yes.
Okay.
So the sign-up sheet's up here, so please at any point, come on up and grab a refreshment and sign in if you'd like the video sent to you and the information that Amanda spoke about. Great, okay, so now we have Dan from MD Custom, who is going to be talking about hormones as well in a little different spin, right?
Yep.
Oh, yes, I didn't see what you were offering. Awesome. Thank you. Great. I'll take 1, 2 seconds. Thank you. Thanks.
Just a show of hands, anyone here on bioidentical hormones? So just a little bit about myself. I don't have an intro page, but I've been a compounding pharmacist now for, 20 years, 21 years. I actually started over here in Glendale. Does anyone know Yield Pharmacy? Yeah. That doesn't exist anymore, but my father-in-law John started that back in 1975. And then I fast forward a few years, I started there in 2003. And then started MD Custom RX, which is where I'm at now. My wife actually started that in 2005. And then fast forward about 5 years, in 2010, we moved out to Brookfield, been there ever since. So, and our main focus, we've got 22,000 different formulas now. So we compound any medication you can imagine under the sun, except we don't do sterile injectables. So we do capsules, creams. I'd say about 80% of what we do dispense is going to be what I'm talking about tonight, bioidentical hormones. Mainly for women, but we do have like testosterone for men as well. We do supplements, vitamins, things like that. We'll talk a little bit about testing tonight on how to measure hormones and try to dispel some of the myths that are out there, because every day I get questions on, doesn't estrogen cause cancer? Or my doctor said I can only be on Prempro for 3 years and then I have to stop. So what tonight's going to be talking about is not the synthetics. I'll hopefully do a decent job, halfway decent job of this, understanding what the synthetic hormones are out there, and then what we do at MD Custom. So it's kind of the journey we'll be on. My medical disclaimer: I am not a physician, so I can't prescribe anything. I can't de-prescribe anything as well. So I'm not going to read all of this to you, but there's that. And then, yeah, so bioidentical hormones, as Amanda alluded to, are critically important for, in my opinion, the health of our body. There are these chemical messenger signals that there's receptors on essentially every cell in our body for estrogen, for testosterone, for progesterone, for DHEA. And so, again, in my humble opinion, yes, we do need those. It's not just for 3 to 5 years past menopause or whenever your doctor puts you on them potentially, that you have to stop them, that they're all of a sudden dangerous. A lot of the information that is out there, even my own colleagues will extrapolate inappropriately. They'll say, well, if a woman is on hormone therapy, they have to stop, otherwise you're going to have an increased risk of breast cancer or an increased risk of clots and so forth. And that data is true based on the synthetic hormones that are out there, so your ethinyl estradiol, your progestins. So there's a lot of nuance in the names of what we're calling these things, and unfortunately doctors and pharmacists alike will clump in bioidenticals with synthetics and extrapolate those negative effects to bioidenticals inappropriately. So bioidentical hormones are exactly the same as what your body makes, that's possibly in the cream that your doctor prescribes that we compound, or the capsule and so forth. So I'll take cream as an example. We do a lot of progesterone cream. We probably fill 50 orders a day just on progesterone cream. And so when we put that on a person, on a patient, and we test your levels, and we send that back to the lab, they can't tell the difference between that progesterone that we put in that cream that your body absorbed versus what your body is still making. And you can't say that with birth control. You can't say that with Prempro or any other synthetic estrogen that might be out there, or progesterone. So there's nuance to that, so just be aware of that. So just to drive this point home, so the pharmacological benefits and risks of synthetic hormones are not the same. So really have to get into, I get calls every day about progesterone and progesterone USP, and if I got it at Walgreens or CVS or any retail store, is it bioidentical? So you have to, I really need to see the actual name on your bottle to tell you for 100% sure if it's bioidentical or not. If you're not sure, call me tomorrow. Send me or text me a picture of your bottle. The other thing that I just alluded to, and I'm sorry I did ahead of my slides, but again, understanding why hormone balance is critical at any age. Just because we hit menopause, we do a lot of menopausal women at our pharmacy that they'll come in, patients will come in and say, well, my doctor says I can only be on these hormones that you're going to compound for us for 3 years. Otherwise, my risk of cancer goes up. And again, that's simply not true. So we need hormones, in my opinion, till the day we die. So they just have to be dosed appropriately. So I'm just going to go into a few different topics. So preservation of metabolic health. There's a lot of information out there on bioidentical hormones. It's unfortunate, it can be harder to find. And so some of these things are like, well, why doesn't my doctor know this? Or why doesn't my pharmacist know this about hormones? And it just, a lot of this information, unfortunately, is outside of the U.S. A lot of times it's buried in the data. It just doesn't get the press I feel that it deserves. But estrogen in proper amounts helps keep optimal weight, reduces abdominal fat, preserves glucose tolerance. We just talked about how important regulating our glucose level is. And so as, again, I'll just use the patients that we mainly see, which are postmenopausal women in our pharmacy. Once their hormones start to tank and their estrogen starts to drop, we see insulin resistance going up. And so if we can balance out their estrogen levels appropriately with bioidentical estrogen. So a lot of women will come into our store and say, well, I was on estrogen, I was on birth control, and I gained weight. I hear that all the time. So they're very, rightly so, they're very cautious about going on estrogen because of what they've heard about the cancer risk, about gaining weight from synthetic estrogen. As long as estrogen's not synthetic and as long as it's dosed into a physiological range, you don't see that effect of gaining weight. You actually see quite the opposite. So that's something to be aware of. So it preserves metabolic function in the body. Estrogen promotes, we talked about the microbiome. I mean, we could talk for days on end about good bacteria, bad bacteria, pathogenic bacteria, and so forth. Just know that estrogen, again, bioidentical estrogen protects microbial diversity. So if you're taking that probiotic, you're eating fermented foods, being on an appropriate dose of estrogen is going to improve your GI tract. So sometimes that gets confused. Again, synthetic estrogens can disrupt the microbiome, but bioidentical ones can actually help improve bacterial growth, good bacterial growth. Mental health and bioidentical hormones, we see this a lot, especially with, again, postmenopausal women. They stop having a menstrual cycle, their estrogen drops, they get foggy brain, they can't think straight, their loss of words. You put that woman back on, again, bioidentical estrogen, typically estradiol, and the brain health comes back. You might see that same patient and their progesterone drops and they have depression, anxiety. You put them on bioidentical progesterone. Bioidentical progesterone is a natural anxiolytic. It helps to reduce anxiety. Bioidentical progesterone can help reduce depression as well. So some of those things that you might look at a drug package, well, I'm the nerd that I am, I look at the drug package insert of birth control, and listed as a side effect on there is depression, anxiety. So again, don't extrapolate the data that you see on synthetic hormones over to bioidentical hormones. So I'll just read this. Depression is a prolific, complex, intricate web of receptors and hormones and neurotransmitters that leaves the patient's emotional reserve near empty. So our hormones are tanking. Again, we don't have enough progesterone on board. We don't have enough estrogen for men, testosterone. I'll be here next month giving this pretty similar talk, mainly geared towards testosterone. But as men, as our testosterone tanks, depression goes up. We see that all the time in the literature. And so we got to make sure it's not just, and I'm sure you've heard this all before, but depression's not a Prozac deficiency, right? We all know that we didn't get depressed because we don't have enough of an SSRI floating through our system. So we got to make sure that we have hormones in place to help those neurotransmitters, to help serotonin and so forth get in place. So I'm going to have a quiz at the end of my talk. You have to rewrite this scheme here, but I'll just read this. There's a lot of things, moving parts going on, but I mean, you can eat some turkey and get yourself some tryptophan, a basic amino acid. Then it needs all these enzymes and cofactors to convert into 5-HTP, which you can buy 5-HTP as a supplement right over the counter, right? Well, is anyone familiar with 5-HTP? Yeah. So it's a great precursor for serotonin. But we need hormones involved. I'll show this on the next slide to do that conversion. We also need vitamin B6, which is down here, to help push that tryptophan into the serotonin. So hormones are involved with this process. We need enough estradiol on board to help with that conversion of getting 5-HTP into serotonin. And then, which is also interesting, is we need to keep serotonin as it is. We need estradiol to block the metabolism of serotonin out of the system. This is all done in an intricate balance, but it just goes to show where just a small amount of a bioidentical hormone can have a profound impact on mental health. So just by changing, and again, 80, 90% of serotonin is made in the gut. anyways, and so we want to try to preserve that serotonin as best we can. And there's a lot of different ways to do it, but we don't want to overlook estradiol, in my opinion. Other hormones and serotonin. So testosterone does the opposite of estradiol, and it actually increases the metabolism. So then we can see if I see this a lot in men where we overdose men with testosterone, and you'll increase their risk for depression, and they'll lower their mood because you've just flooded the system, and now you're taking all the serotonin that man is producing, and basically metabolize it and excrete it out of their body too fast. So you gotta be careful with that. The typical man needs only 8 milligrams of testosterone a day. When I used to work at regular retail pharmacy, Testin Androgel is dosed at 100 milligrams a day, or even more. So 10 times the dose that they potentially need. We talked about cortisol a few minutes ago. The stress hormone can target neurotransmitters, resulting in mood fluctuations. So if our cortisol is bouncing up and down, which is a lot of times controlled by blood sugar, we're going to run into an issue there as well. And then vitamin D, even though it's a misnomer, vitamin D is actually a hormone, not a vitamin, but that's essential for the expression of this enzyme to help increase serotonin. So just by taking vitamin D can help improve serotonin, can help improve mood. Roles of estrogen for preserving bone health. So again, every bone cell in our body has a receptor for estrogen on it. So again, we see this all the time. It's correlation isn't causation, but you look at the data that's out there, and as women stop ovulating and their estrogen levels, their estradiol levels specifically go down, then their bone mineral density goes down with it too. The risk of osteoporosis goes up. So we want to make sure that we're protecting women's bones. Obviously giving them enough vitamin D, calcium, all of those other nutrients as well. But I think a big factor that we're missing is, again, giving a woman the right amount of estrogen balanced with progesterone. And we actually, I don't know if I have it on this slide here, but even giving women, we have more women at our pharmacy on testosterone than we do men. I mean, men are just, I don't know what to say about our breed, but our sex. They just don't want to go to the doctor, unfortunately, right? Until their arm is falling off and whatnot, we're not going to go see a provider. But testosterone for women can just have a profound effect on bone health. Usually if women want to improve bone health, we measure their levels and we recommend they go to their provider and not only get a prescription for estrogen, which is the most common hormone, but also testosterone to help with bone strength, bone mineral density. I'm going to skip over this, but the gut microbiome and its connection to estrogen, we touched on that a little while ago. Just know that estrogen, again, bioidentical, not synthetic, it has a positive effect on the microflora and the microbiome of the body. Hormones affect athletic performance. So getting into a little bit about T3, T4, but so those of you that are on thyroid medication, I strongly encourage you to have your doctor test your T3 and your T4 level. Oftentimes we see I see patients come into our pharmacy that are just testing the TSH, and that's typically not enough information because TSH is just released by the pituitary. This is just a hormone that's being released from another endocrine gland. It's not really a direct measure of your thyroid function, in my opinion. It's an indirect way to measure it. I think it's quite antiquated. So if you're on thyroid hormone, I encourage you to talk to your doctor about getting T3 and T4 tested. So that regulates energy metabolism, cardiac function, protein synthesis, as it says there, calcium homeostasis. Steroid hormones, so getting into, again, the estrogen, progesterone, testosterone world, helps to maintain energy stores, build muscle, increase oxygen capacity. And then again, these effects are mainly due to testosterone. So if you want, we have actually some women that are premenopausal that are coming to our pharmacy that are getting testosterone that are actually pushing to limit their over-exercising, stressing out their adrenal glands, and they're intentionally taking too much testosterone to help improve their athletic performance, which I don't necessarily agree with, but they know the rules of the game and they're just kind of pushing it to their favor. But if you are interested in hormone therapy, and even for osteoporotic women, I always recommend getting not only their estrogen level tested, but their testosterone as well. It can have a strong impact on athletic performance. Let's see here, steroid hormones and exercise. So I kind of touched on this all a little bit already, but just know that progesterone and estradiol are the main players here. Progesterone helps to maintain proper activity of the thyroid, to increase energy and reduce inflammation. This one's often overmissed or overlooked. Progesterone, so real quick on thyroid hormone and exercise and so forth. I always think of the thyroid gland as the thermostat of the body. It might be an oversimplification of it that way, but when your thyroid is working properly, you have enough vitamin D to convert T4 into T3, so inactive to active, but you also need enough progesterone, especially for women. We will see their thyroid levels drop because they don't have enough progesterone on board anymore, and then they have all of this Synthroid that is commonly prescribed, or levothyroxine, and you need progesterone to convert T4, Synthroid, into T3, which is active. And so if you're on thyroid hormone or know somebody that is, and all of a sudden their dose wasn't working, or their doctor had to keep bumping their dose up, they probably have not enough progesterone on board anymore. You see that quite a bit. Estradiol to some level too helps with, again, controls inflammation, reduces muscle damage, breaks down fat for fuel. I have a lot of patients that come in and say that, again, estrogen, too much estrogen can cause the reverse, can cause you to gain weight, but as long as it's dosed appropriately, it's not an issue. And this talks about, this is more for like women that are exercising all the time or extensively, or like there's those triathlon runners and so forth. But my point for this slide is if you're exercising competitively, so forth, and you have a some kind of competition or whatever game that you're that you're going to be playing in, ideally you want your, again, how do you control your menstrual cycle? But you ideally don't want to be having a competition where you're at your low ends of your cycle. So right at the beginning of your menstrual cycle or right at the end, your hormones are just tanked in the normal menstrual cycle. And then the interesting thing here too is that progesterone increases your core body temperature by a half degree Celsius, which again, if somebody is going out and running a marathon and they're doing that right before their period starts again, they're at a disadvantage. So, because their body, they're expelling more heat, essentially. So that's something to, again, be aware of. You can, again, once you know the rules of the game, you can actually push this out a little bit. And not that I'm a doctor, but if I knew a patient was coming in and she's running a marathon, I don't know, let's say Friday this week, but she's supposed to get her period on Friday, I would give her oral progesterone or cream to push that progesterone level out. So you kind of, not that I'm recommending that, but hopefully you get my point on that. So. Cardiovascular, how am I doing on time? I'm kind of out of time, aren't I?
Yours?
5 more minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. This is just some of the testing that we do at our pharmacy, which just looks like hieroglyphics probably. But these graphs here, like cortisol levels, estradiol levels, we know the ranges that you should be in for your age. So we got 0 to 100 years old out. For this particular woman, she's 30 some years old, and her estrogen is low. It should be on the green line, ideally. So she's also low on progesterone. Her testosterone is actually elevated, so there's some issues there. And her DHEA is elevated. So these are all things that we can test, and either through prescriptions or through supplements, we can increase them, decrease them, whatever we need to do to move those around. I'm going to skip over that. This is the Women's Health Initiative study that's been looked at probably 4 or 5 times already now. They keep taking the same data that came out originally in 2002 and finding different things about it. But it says initiating estrogen replacement is important when the decline in estrogen begins, because long-standing estrogen deficiency can alter how the body responds to estrogen supplementation. So That's a lot of words for saying if your body becomes deficient in estrogen, those receptors basically shrivel up and they don't work as well anymore. So it's important to try to get that as soon as we lose our menstrual cycle, that we can get estrogen, test it, and then get estrogen on board if needed. So the sooner, the better. Breast cancer prevention, I would say every day, if not, well, I would definitely say almost every day a patient comes in, I sit down and counsel her on that the hormone cream that she's getting from her doctor is not going to increase her risk for breast cancer. There's actually studies done looking at that women's health information that bioidentical estrogen can actually reduce your risk of estrogen. There's a whole study that was done, actually was done in Europe, on how bioidentical estrogen can actually reduce breast cancer. So again, it all comes back to balance. So the other thing too that's important, natural progesterone has the lowest risk of breast cancer risk, which has a lower risk compared to no treatment at all. So that was one of the newer things that came out, actually looking at the Women's Health Initiative's study, that you say, oh, I don't want to go on any hormones. My doctor won't let me be on anything because it's going to increase my risk of cancer. That is now not true. So it took a while to get there, but there it goes. So what to do? Leaving today, test your hormone levels. These kits, in Wisconsin, you can order your own labs. You can jump on our website tonight if you wanted to and order your test kit and have it delivered to your house tomorrow. Or maybe not that quick, a couple days. Maybe by the end of the week. So there's that. You do need a doctor to prescribe off of that. I didn't include this in my slides, but you'll have 2 pages of recommendations, both with supplements, prescriptions, everything you need to get started on bioidentical hormones, but you need a physician or a prescriber to prescribe off of those recommendations that would then be sent to our pharmacy. So yes, you can get the kit through us. Yes, we can sit down and tell you everything you need, but I can't actually write the prescription for you. The doctor has to get involved.
Are there saliva tests?
Saliva, yes, saliva, or we do a blood spot too. All the kits that we sell are at home though, like we don't have a phlebotomist or anything on site, so all the kits that we do have that you would purchase, you literally do the test yourself. You either spit in the tube or you poke your, it's a capillary test, so it's not a blood draw, but you just poke your tip of your finger and then send it out to the lab. Everything's prepaid envelope with a shipping label.
And how is saliva different than the blood draw?
It's really not, honestly. You test this, you can essentially, besides thyroid, all the sex hormones, you can test the same. You can test estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, DHEA, all through saliva or through blood spot. It's whatever your patient's preference is, honestly. There is some nuance to that, like if you have like a troche of hormones that you're already putting under your tongue, then you wouldn't want to do the saliva, you'd rather do the blood spot. But if you're doing a transdermal cream, the best way to test is through saliva. It's the most accurate. Drinking water, I don't know if my water is right, but I said 64 ounces. I'm a little bit off, sorry.
That's more standard.
Yeah. Our point is drink water, right?
Yes.
And clean water. Yeah. Stay away from synthetic hormones, all your plastics, your BPA, Go Green, kind of touched on all those toxins that are out there. And we touched on this already too, but reduce stress, eat healthy, proper sleep, exercise. You can raise, well, specifically for men, you can raise their testosterone by just telling them to get off the couch and exercise. And that doesn't cost, well, it costs you some time, but it doesn't cost anything otherwise. That is my info there, and all of my references that you can't read, but there's a bunch of them on there, so.
I have a quick question for
Yep.
you. Can you just maybe touch on bioidentical versus compounding, and is compounding taking bioidentical and yeah?
Yeah.
Is that an easy answer?
No, but I'll try to make it easy. So bioidentical, all right, I'm just going to make up a story here, but hypothetically, you can go to Walgreens right now and get bioidentical progesterone, and you can get bioidentical estradiol. So the bioidentical progesterone is going to say progesterone USP. And then the estrogen, like Estrace is a really common estradiol cream. Estrace is estradiol vaginal cream. Both of those hormones are bioidentical. So if we take those hormones out of those products and put them into your body and then draw your blood and then send it to technician to analyze, they will not be able to tell the difference between that progesterone or that estradiol you got from Walgreens. I'm taking those same hormones, I'm buying them in bulk in pure powder, and I'm taking those hormones and putting them into a cream or a capsule. So that's really bioidentical. You cannot tell them structurally apart from what your body's making versus what's in our creams or capsules. That's, and then you don't have the side effects essentially compared to the synthetics.
And the compounding part.
And the
is just
compounding
making
is
it-
just me making it versus Pfizer or whoever makes it, Merck, put it in a, drug manufacturer's name. We always get questions on that, like, because everything is FDA approved, that comes into our pharmacy. It just, once my hands touch it, then the FDA says that's not FDA approved anymore because I touched it. It's a little bit, because that's another criticism of compounding is we're not regulated, and I invite you all to my pharmacy tomorrow and I can show you all the regulations that we're scrutinized under. But that often is brought up, is that there's no regulation. All of our bioidentical hormones, they have certificates of analysis, basically chemical blueprints of exactly what they are.
And do Merck and Pfizer make options for bioidentical progesterone and estrogen?
That I know of.
No, they don't.
Mm.
No.
I don't know who makes progesterone, or
Yeah.
whoever made Prometrium.
No, because there's no patent on
I
it,
know, right.
right? They can't make money off that.
There's not, you can't patent a natural
Right.
product.
So then if you're under those regulations, do the insurance companies pay for the medication that we're asked to compound?
The easy answer is no.
It's cash out of pocket.
Our average price of a prescription is $60 for a 2-month supply. So it's
2
not terribly
months?
expensive, yeah.
You said 2 months?
2 months, so it's like about $30 a month for like progesterone or estrogen. So it sounds expensive, custom compound, custom pharmaceutical, but it's not like thousands of dollars.
I think that's comparable to an over-the-counter,
Yeah.
actually, for the same length of time.
So again, there's a lot of different ways we can increase our endocrine system, sleep, nutrition, all that good stuff. But if that's still not enough, we could supplement with it, but we gotta do it responsibly and not overdose with the hormones in my opinion. All right, I'll
Thank you so much.
Yep.
All right, next up we have Mal.
Did anybody get the window tolerance and split? Okay, I'm gonna make this down. I apologize for the small print. My printer did not like me today and didn't let me do this in sizes. So my name is Mal Beckett. So my education and trade, I am a licensed clinical social worker, so I'm a mental health therapist. So kind of the way that my elevator pitch is I am a somatic and spiritual therapist, and I'm EMDR trained, so it's kind of like my specialty that I do, so it's trauma processing. But today, I am gonna talk about somatic awareness. So I just like to get a little temperature check in the room. I'm just curious of has anybody heard of somatic healing or somatic therapy? Just show of hands. Okay, great. So really somatic, anything is a name of body, right? It's just another way of saying body. So what we're gonna talk about is body awareness. So I really appreciate the kind of segue that Amanda and Dr. Dan did about the hormones, because that's a lot of times I talk to my clients about is hormone cycling. And I love the thing about kind of the body hacking of if your hormone levels are low and you're going to do heavy fitness, maybe don't do it because your body's not gonna like it. And we have a lot of conversations about that of if you have too much on your plate, maybe listen to your body. So that's what we're gonna really talk about today, is how do we befriend stress instead of fighting it? I know, it's wild. And as a mental health therapist, we're really not gonna talk a lot about the mental piece. We're talking about the body. And I really switched my track into the somatic because I learned the mental part was not working for myself and for the clients that I was serving, because it's not just the mental cognitive brain, it really is the mind and body and spirit. All right, so just quick overview, and this is really just to keep me in line because I was born and raised in the East Coast. I'm a talker, I talk fast, so everybody here just keep me in line, please, if I veer off. So a little bit about me. I'm the founder of Reset Resilient Wellness. I went to school in Boston, Massachusetts. I earned my master's degree, School of Social Work in Boston College. My parents are from Cambodia, so they're refugees. They came over in the 80s, and I served in the Air Force for almost 7 years active duty, and I'm currently an active duty member, family member. So my partner, he's currently in a PhD program in Milwaukee. So I bring that up because a lot of that history is currently in the present, because my parents and our family's nervous system I inherited. So I want to bring that to our attention because what we're working with is not just what we are working with, right? But it's a lot of what our family's history also. So a lot of times when we're like, why am I reacting to this? Or why is this, why am I acting like this is such a big deal? Because it probably was a big deal, not to you, but maybe to somebody you know, or somebody they knew, or maybe many lines ago, right? So also wanted to put that in this space, just to think about. So just really quickly, I'm not going to quiz you on this, just a little bit about the type of therapy that I do and I practice, just in case you're curious. The EMDR therapy is a type of psychotherapy that is not talk therapy. It is very somatic based, and what it does is it helps reprocess distressing and traumatic memories using bilateral stimulation. So that would be butterfly hugs, eye movement, and it's really great modality that was developed by Dr. Shapiro in the late 1980s, and she did extensive research with combat veterans. So that's just a little bit more information. So really what the research found was that distressing memories are stored in the brainstem as raw pieces of sensory data, and when they're not processed appropriately, they show up in the present. So what they call that is like emotional flashbacks. You don't need a diagnosis to experience an emotional flashback, right? So when you have a partner, a child, an adult child, a stranger that maybe upsets you, and it was just a little bit, issue, that upset that you felt might be a familiar upset that you felt maybe many days ago or even months ago, or it's a collective upset that you felt. So that's kind of what EMDR helps process through. So it's these collective feelings and memories and sensations that haven't been witnessed or validated. And what somatic and spiritual therapy is it differs from the mainstream approach like CBT, so cognitive behavioral therapy, or just your typical talk therapy, which is top-down therapy, or top-down processing, which is very like prefrontal cortex brain, like you have to kind of build insight. What it does is it taps into what you're feeling, right? So it actually checks in with what are you noticing in the body? Where's your heart? What's in the stomach? Oftentimes, folks aren't being asked, what are you noticing in the body? right? It's always, what do you think about that? What do you feel about that? And folks are like, I don't know, you tell me. Like, you get paid the big bucks, I don't know. And actually, we're so disconnected from what we feel and what we think, we have no idea. And that's not by accident, it's because of all of our experiences. So somatic and spiritual therapy helps reintegrate our experiences and ourselves to ourselves. So you can see, none of this is me helping my clients feel happier, right? I can't promise that, because I wouldn't do a good job, because that's not what the human experience is about. So just a little bit more about what somatic healing is, right? So it really encourages individuals to reconnect with your body to help alleviate stress by really reconnecting with what the stress is telling you. So it doesn't mean that you're trying to get rid of the stress right away, but it's really befriending, okay, what is the stress telling me? So it's learning to pause and to listen, and we'll go more into how do I do that. So first, it's really important to understand why do our bodies even respond to stress, or what is even stress? Well, it's our body's natural response to any demand or challenge. It's our body's nervous system, right, going into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, which is kind of a newer thing. So that's kind of like our people pleasing, if you've ever heard of that new term, right? That's where you're like, fine, I'll do it. I don't care, whatever, right? That's fawn. And we do that because it's a survival mechanism. It's just easier, right? Because I think Amanda mentioned, our bodies are just like, let's just get through the day, right? I just have nothing left, right? And if we're not eating well, our hormones are just out of whack, we're like, let's just make it to the next morning, right? And our bodies are built and super resilient for brief situational experiences. But because it's so resilient, we get up and do it again. And life is resilient. And us being women are really good at being resilient. So that turns into that chronic stress, right? And that's when we actually get a new baseline. So that's what that chronic stress is. So it's the hormones, right? The hormones being dysfunctional. Then our nervous system gets used to this new baseline. So then the fight, flight, freeze, fawn response then just becomes your new baseline. So you're constantly fight, flight, freeze, and fawning, right? So then the prolonged stress is your new normal. So then you don't have any space to rest, right? Everything is a crisis. Everything you have to respond to. Even when people are like, you should chill out. Or what's my favorite? Relax. Calm down. Because that works, right? Like, how many times have you relaxed or calmed down when somebody told you to? And that's why I don't tell my folks to do it. Because your body is not the same as your brain, right? They're two different things. And that's why a lot of times the mental health field is really truly just catching up. Because a lot of it is just being taught cognitive, top down. Right? CBT, as much as they say research is really effective, the pool that they use research on is very biased in my humble opinion. And I will die on that hill. Because, again, it depends on who you're researching that. It says that it's very effective. So if you look on your handout, there's a diagram there. This handout talks about the specific things that happen when your body is triggered. So the stress response. And I really love this, and this is one of the foundational things that I talk about with the clients that I see, literally first, second sessions that we start with, is so they can learn what happens to my body. Because this isn't taught, right? You're not born learning, knowing this information. So folks won't even know why your heart's beating. It's a normal reaction, but you don't know why it's beating fast, right? And when you recognize, oh, my heart's racing, it's because my fight, flight, freeze response is triggered. So then you can know, oh, my stress response is triggered. Something must be stressing me out. So then you can pause, right? So then you can ask yourself, what do I need at the moment? So being able to tap into your body at the moment allows you to ask yourself, what do I need at the moment? So that's kind of what I hope if you walk away with anything, is allowing yourself to pause and to check in with yourself. Not with whomever is around you, but with yourself. So again, this really is a really great way to just learn about the physiological reactions. Yeah, like things that I never knew, like, oh, your hands get cold. I just thought like I had bad circulation, but that's actually a stress response. A bladder urgency. I just thought I had a small bladder. No, that's a stress response. So that was really helpful. Another great resource that I learned and start to really incorporate is the window of tolerance. And Dr. Dan Siegel, a brilliant psychologist, Dan Siegel or Bessel van der Kolk, he's kind of the pioneer of trauma research, created this window of tolerance that kind of connecting the fight, flight, freeze response, right, our stress response. When we have chronic stress, our ability to handle the stress is very tiny, right? So that's what you see the wire. So I invite my clients to kind of picture themselves on the floaty as a way to practice mindfulness, right, or mindful awareness. And I'll invite them every day. I invite you to just check in with yourself. Where are you on the floaty? Are you on the floaty, on the river, just chilling? Because that means that you're in the window of tolerance. Are you knocked off of the river? Are you knocked off of the floaty, in the river? If you are, that means you may be dysregulated and you may be activated, right? Your fight or flight may be activated and triggered, and you might be feeling anxious, out of control, or even in the hypoarousal, which is shut down, just over it, right? And that's kind of the hypoarousal is very insidious and sneaky, because that's when we're feeling depressed, tapped out, right? Just nothing left. But because we have to do and keep trucking on, we just think we're tired all the time, right? So we just get up and we have to do it again. So knowing where your window of tolerance can be really helpful of identifying where you are and where your body is. So just another tool that I like to show and offer. So what is the practice of somatic awareness? So again, it's kind of reframing what stress is and what that looks like in your body, right? It's looking at that it's your body's way of communicating to you. It's not that you can't handle what's happening to you. It's not that you're not good enough. It's not that you're not mentally strong. It's not that you can't do it all, because you can absolutely, does not mean you have to. It's that your body can only do so much, right? We're not robots. Your body is telling you, stop. You need a rest. So again, right? So really looking at these things as the need for attention or action, and that they're natural responses. So allowing those physiological cues as things to attend to. So the biggest question I've learned to ask myself is, what do I need right now? And a lot of times it's probably water and food. Always a snack, nap, or water. Because again, we're so conditioned to go, 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 right? Like that really, I just started off with that, and then eventually it was like, oh, I need a break. I need more rest. I need to then to say no. So it really started off with really basic things. So yeah, so that really is like somatic awareness. That's truly how it's really that simple, but not easy, right? Because that means we're really unlearning a lot of things in conditioning that we've been taught. So as I come to my presentation, I would love to invite you all, completely voluntary, you don't have to, but I would love to kind of show you what I do with my clients during our session. Just and this is, you don't have to get up for this, this is an example of a somatic activity. So I'm going to combine them together because I know we're limited on time. So this is going to be a mindful breathing and body scan activity. And I'm actually going to invite you to do a tapping together. So you can either do butterfly tapping or on your knees, whatever you're comfortable with. And I invite you to soften your gaze or close down your eyes, whatever you're comfortable with. So there's no right or wrong. So you're just going to tap, alternating, nice and slow at your own pace. You're just noticing the room, the here and now. I invite you to just notice the breath. Just noticing the in-breath, the out-breath. Welcoming your breath, however it is. No need to change or force. Just really allowing that breath to be an anchor to the present moment and to your body. Now I invite you to notice the top, the crown of your head. We're just going to do a body scan, just noticing the top of your head, moving your attention down through the eyes, just noticing for any sensation, any tightness, tension, any unpleasant sensations, but also noticing any pleasant sensation. And at your own pace, I invite you to continue noticing down past your nose, your mouth, through the rest of your body. Again, you don't have to change anything, but we're just practicing mindful awareness through the body. And as you do, I also invite you to offer gratitude towards yourself for taking the time, for allowing yourself to be here. when you're ready, I invite you to just join the room. Feel free to open the eyes. Beautiful. And feel free to wiggle the fingers, wiggle the toes, the shoulders. Beautiful. Great job. So what I did was I combined the bilateral stimulation with the mindful awareness. And what that bilateral stimulation is, the tapping in, that allows you to kind of help stay grounded and also helps with the neural pathways also. Sometimes it's another grounding technique where oftentimes when we do meditation, a mindfulness activity, our brain wanders, which is completely okay. Misconception is that I do meditation wrong because my brain wanders. It's okay. That's the point, right? Because we practice coming back to the moment. But that also just really helps enhance the practice. So I just want to leave some tips here. Incorporating practices at home. That does not mean you have to, carve 2 hours to meditate. I promise you, you do not. I started off with 2 minutes a day. If even, I'm lying. I did 2 minutes a week. All you have to do, if you start at the way I teach the clients I serve, is notice your breath. Right? I always teach them, use your breath as your anchor. Anytime you notice, oh, my heart's racing, I'm hungry, I'm stressed, come back to your breath. That is somatic awareness. That is mindfulness. But these are some things that can really help if you want to build a practice. And that is my time. Thank you so much.
Okay, we've got Dave next up from Stan's, and he's going to talk about footwear and shoes.
I feel so calm.
I know.
I was getting a little nervous to get up here, but now I was like, hey, it's doing pretty good. I'm Dave Sajak. I'm a certified podiatrist and also our director of merchandising at our Stan's shoe stores and Good Mile running stores. We have 7 doors total, so we have 6 in the Milwaukee area. We have 1 in the Chicago area. My grandpa founded it. He's Stan. He started in 1950 with my grandma. And my dad is still very much involved, and my 3 siblings are involved on a daily basis as well. So it's pretty neat. My grandma actually retired at the age of 84. She loved it so much. So it's a true family business. We're very passionate about shoes. It's kind of what we know what to do. My great-great-grandpa came over from Poland, and he had a small shoe store, and it actually was on Brady Street, right across from Glorioso's. So if you're actually walking down Brady Street, there's a little kind of a brass little plate across the street from the old Glorioso's for shoes, and that's because of us, which is pretty cool. I gave myself chills. It just is pretty cool to see that legacy and to go into the 3rd generation of providing footwear to the Milwaukee area. It's pretty cool. I see some familiar faces. Thank you. It's good to see you. We are really dedicated to find really high quality footwear and bring it here to you. I have the privilege of actually traveling the world trying to find shoes. Sometimes my wife likes it, sometimes she doesn't, because I'm gone sometimes. But I get to go to Milan, Italy twice a year, go to Portugal, go to Germany, and I find unique brands to bring here so you can see them in our stores. So I have a couple here as well. And I mentioned I'm a certified podiatrist. I'm not a podiatrist. I'm more of like a casual pharmacist for shoes. I used to make orthotics, custom orthotics. I don't anymore. We used to have a fabrication lab in one of our facilities. We don't do that anymore. But I really am an expert in marrying that custom orthotic. I don't know if anybody wears a custom orthotic here or an insole, and the shoe. Or if you come with, a great letter from any of these physical therapists or a podiatrist or your other doctor saying, hey, you have metatarsal pain, you have plantar fasciitis, we sometimes feel like plantar fasciitis is almost contagious. We see it all the time. Thank goodness it's not. But we have ways of helping, just with some over-the-counter things. And you know what a really good way of feeling good is buying a pair of shoes. I mean, automatically you feel good, right? Can't deny that. So with physical therapy, I mean, a lot of the time you need a proper pair of shoes. And I actually just was at a conference with about 150 podiatrists across Wisconsin. It was actually here in Brookfield. And that was last weekend. And it's interesting to know, podiatrists are experts in feet, right? But the more I spoke to them, they're not experts in shoes. Okay, so they kind of know the what you might need, but come to us because we live and breathe it. I really focus on training our staff and making sure that they know the most up-to-date information for you and to provide for you. We're not self-service. If you have not been to our store, we sit down, we measure your feet, measure them with a Brandt device, old school. So it's important to get your feet measured every single time you get a pair of shoes. We were talking about guys and how humbug we are typically and set in our ways. You're right. Normally a guy comes in, I'm a 10 Charlie. Well, are you? When was the last time you were measured? Well, 8th grade. Well, yeah, that doesn't count. Now you're 76. You know. So we have to kind of convince them to let us measure it. But it's worth it. We also have scanners in our stores to actually identify pressure points. So sometimes you can tell that pressure point and say, hey, I have Morton's neuroma. I have metatarsalgia, I have a lot of pressure in the ball of my foot, or I have that, or a heel spur. And we actually have a really cool map that you step down. There's actually a functional dynamic scan, and then there's also a static scan, just to kind of see how your body interacts with the ground. And then we can interpret that together. It obviously suggests an orthotic. We won't push you for that, but it is kind of nice to see what that difference is and have an accommodative orthotic in some of these shoes. Because, for example, Hoka, I don't know if anybody's heard of Hoka. They're everywhere. All of a sudden it became our #1 brand in our stores. And it happened overnight. New Balance used to be our #1, and then all of a sudden Hoka came out and just said, take that. So it's pretty cool to see that because it's a fairly young brand. But back to shoe manufacturers, they make shoes to fit the majority of us, right? Makes sense. But sometimes we just need to kind of personalize it for you. So that might mean, it slips in the heel a little bit. We have tools that we can fix that with. There are little tricks of lacing. Pumps, they look lovely on you. They're hard to fit, A lot of people slip in the heel, or you have a little pressure on the ball of your foot. We have little tools and little tricks that we can actually make them more comfortable as well. Athletic shoes. I have 2 run specialty shoe stores called Good Miles Running. It's our own brand. We have 2 stores in Brookfield, and then we have one in Greenfield. I'd love to have one up in here sometime in this area, but we have stands on Port Washington and Silver Spring, right across from Trader Joe's. And we carry the majority of that product athletic-wise there. So you're wearing some Hokas there. But Hoka, and everybody's kind of mimicking that, is that max cushion, minimal heel drop. So that means that you're closer to the ground. So kind of a traditional athletic shoe would be 8 millimeters, 12 millimeters up, so your heel was sitting up that much higher than the ball of your foot. Now it's about 4 or 5 is that difference. And a lot of companies are transitioning to that, and a lot of people find it comfortable. It just kind of neutralizes your stance. They start looking the same on the wall when you start looking at them. Cream is the new white. We're slowly seeing this the white sneaker trend really kind of gear more towards this cream, or it is called vanilla. I don't know if you noticed. But it's kind of neat to see how that is translated through the brands. Brooks is outstanding. On running we carry, and something like this. I'm sure you've seen this out and about as well. Easy to slip on. Tons of colors. But we have a wide variety of athletic shoes, period. And we can really figure out what works for you. Try on a ton. That's what we're here for. So we're going to sit, fit, and you have us. Okay? You have my fit specialist's attention, making sure that you're in the right shoe, because that's the #1 priority. Because it makes me feel good, when you feel good, when you're coming in and out of our stores. Look at this. This wedge seems sometimes a little daunting for some people. However, there's a platform, there's some flexibility, and there's actually arch support. And there's a little metatarsal dome right here to help alleviate some of that pressure on the ball of the foot. Not many sandals do that. So this is actually a sandal manufactured by a insole company called Aetrex. So it's a kind of a neat combination. So there's memory foam on top and cork latex in between. Really great shock absorption, and then also the support. This is one of the brands that I direct import from Europe. This is out of Austria. Really tiny, small town called Promet. Really cute. And who did they work for? Hargis. That's who you work for when you're there. But they're very proud of their product. All leather lined. It also has cork inside, and they make this as well. It was really neat to see. But these accommodate orthotics really nicely if you need them. Or some of our customers have AFOs, little larger orthotics that kind of wrap around your ankle. Arizona braces, we're seeing fewer of those or any type of brace. We have shoes that we can help you with if you know anybody that needs that type of support. And then we just have fun shoes too. Here's a line out of Spain. Just kind of cute, fun little dress sandal. My wife wants this in a brandy colors. She keeps on telling me, bring it home. I forget. But it's, we have a really, I brought such a tight selection of our product since I can only carry so much, but Birkenstock is another really, really strong brand for us. We probably have one of the largest selections of Birkenstock in the state of Wisconsin. And it's just continues to be great. The footbed and the foundation is nothing new. It's been around for a long time. They're celebrating 250 years this year. We're celebrating almost 75, so I go, wow, I feel old, and they're even older. But the support is great. It does take some getting used to. So just so you're aware of that, if you have not tried this on. But we do sell a lot, and a lot of people love them. I also carry a brand called Vionic. I don't know if you're familiar with Vionic. They do some QVC selling there. I actually own a store, just a Vionic store. We were the 4th one in the country to actually have a Vionic store, and it's located in Brookfield. But this was actually designed by an Australian podiatrist. So he's like, why can't we have cute shoes that are supportive, comfortable, and actually kind of help us align? A lot of people pronate. So this actually has a really nice deep heel cup, nice arch support, and some of their shoes, all of their dress shoes, have a metatarsal pad as well, just to kind of help align that foot and make you feel comfortable and walk around it, and not feel like you're, hurting and still looking cute. This is their #1 shoe. I carry it in 9 different colors. It's kind of fun. This penny loafer trend really took off about a year ago, continues through this season into fall. So this is very trend right now, and we're seeing it a lot. I'm starting to buy for spring of 25 now, so my fall buy is already done. And I'm seeing Hoka next week for spring 2025, and Dansko is another line of ours that we carry. I have a sandal over there that I'm seeing as well. This is another Vionic, but for a sandal, I know some people don't like the in between the toes, but there's a lot of different styles that can accommodate different preferences, and the footbed's just outstanding in here, if you need that, if you want that. And then we also have other neutral fitting sandals as well. Our #1 selling sandal is the Echo Yucatan. I carry this probably in 9 different colors as well. Great travel sandal, really comfortable. Echo's a great brand, as you know, as I know. They're outstanding. So we have just a wide variety of products. If you haven't been to visit our stores, I invite you to. We'd love to have you sit down, talk to you, figure out what you need, and we'll have something for you. We also have some great compression socks in our stores that don't look like compression socks, because my grandma would buy compression socks, and it's like, well, do you want nude or black? Or black or nude, and it's just kind of like, well, that's kind of boring. I want to have some fun. So we carry a line called Sockwell, and they have graduated compression socks, and they're fun, and they're really nice, and they're not $75, $80, $100 over the pharmacy counter. So we have some of those options as well. My grandpa always said, I don't care if you sold a pair of shoes today, but did you make a friend? And we tell that to everybody on our floor. You know, I have over 100 employees. It's a lot to maintain, but that's really true to who we are. And so we want you to be happy with the product that we give to you, and then also make you feel good, especially when you're solving issues, maybe here, and making your body feel good. So I'm also giving a $50 gift card away. So if you'd like to sign up for that, join that raffle. And I also have some business cards. I'd love to sit down with you. I typically don't see a lot of customers anymore. I used to manage I've managed all of our stores. But not anymore. I was saying before, I'm looking at, you know, spreadsheets and grids and vendor appointments, etc. And it gets a little boring. So I'd love to sit with you. If you'd like to contact me, shoot me an email. I'd love to help you out. But shoe fitting is an art. It's kind of a dying art. It's very self-service now. So take the time. You and your feet deserve it. And the quality of the shoe is important. So there's a lot of New Balance shoes in Kohl's. Great, they sell a lot of them. We carry a different grade of product, different cushioning, different arch supports, different materials. It means they might be a little bit more expensive, but they're worth it. And they last a long time. So I know I was short in time, but if you have any questions about shoe fitting, I'm coming back next month and I'm going to go through 10 steps to a proper shoe fit. If you want to sneak into men's night, please, I won't tell. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We've had so many clients head over your way, and everybody's always so happy with the customer service you guys provide,
Great.
so thank you. Well, thank you all for coming. We'll be hanging around a little bit. If you have some questions, feel free to grab one of us, and we appreciate your support for the event tonight. Thank you. Thank you. Of course.